This is part 2 of 5 of the Ron Wyatt Museum experience that I was fortunate enough to be a part of with my friend Dan. And I just hope everybody enjoyed episode 1. In this episode, we're going to see even more discoveries by Ron Wyatt, such as Mount Sinai, the area around there, the place where the golden calf was built, where the Israelites were worshiping their false gods and idols while Moses was up on Mount Sinai speaking to God and actually getting the 10 Commandments. We're also going to see photographs of the rock that God commanded Moses to speak to split to give water to the Israelites, but instead he disobeyed God and hit it with a stick, and that will play out in the future for him in a negative way by not allowing him to go into the promised land because of his disobedience. I got the opportunity to even hold some of the rocks directly from Mount Sinai, and I just had an overwhelming sense of emotion when I did this. I could just feel the presence of the Lord even more strongly than I normally do, knowing that he was touching that specific object, and he left a lasting impression literally on it with his presence. You'll see that the top of the rock that I'm holding in part of the video is clearly charred, and I'll flip it over and you'll see the underside where the original color of the rock is. So I just hope that everybody enjoys this next part of the museum experience, and just like, share, follow, comment on the video if you'd like, and just let's spread the Lord's gospel and reach more people with this. So thank you. Enjoy.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right, dude.
Okay, so let's see.
So I got a couple questions because
Sure.
he just also discovered the rock that he split to
Split rock of Horeb,
right,
where the water came pouring out from Moses.
and I saw some information about that. They were saying now they got that blocked off, that you can't even get to it. Is that correct?
Well, this minute they're working on a road into it. Neom is the city they're building there in Saudi Arabia, and they've got it's probably paved by now. There's a road that comes into that site, and they're used to get to Mount Sinai, you had to go all the way around the mountain, take an hour probably to get around, and now they've cut a road going through the mountain, so from the split rock you'll be able to drive through to Mount Sinai on a short little 20-minute road.
Wow.
So. But they're working on that road right now, and right there close to Jebel El Laws, they're putting a ski slope in. It's going to have fake snow. It's about I think 8,500 feet.
Now, is that the same mountain of Mount Sinai where the top is
It's
burnt?
next to it.
Oh, it's next
actually
to it.
3 miles away or something.
Okay.
3 or 4 miles, but it's close. So yeah, they're going to develop around that area. It's going to get developed one of these days, and Mount Sinai will, feel some damage from that probably.
Right.
But right now, we just got a notice. We're going over there pretty soon, and we just found out that the Rock of Horeb site is closed. So they're working on that road. To get into it. So, but it's open normally.
Okay.
Yeah, and they'll open it back up the next 2 or 3 months, and so we're not worried about that. Let's see.
I found that really interesting. Just the mere size of that.
Yeah, here's your
rock.
Rock of Horeb.
Yeah.
And here's a person standing there. So and then
Split
of course,
that
the water
open, and
is
then
all-
water just come out of that rock.
It made all this rock,
And they say
It's
they
all
know
the
that
way-
because it's smooth and everything, right?
Everything's smooth, and it comes down, and there's a riverbed that goes both directions there, and so a lot of water's flowed through that area. It's a natural river anyway, but of course here's on that poster, but this is the blackened peak of Mount Sinai.
Right.
And we have the blackened rock from Mount Sinai over here in another case.
Yeah, let's
So
check that out.
Look at that.
Bro.
There's just some samples of the blackened rock.
Now this come off the top, right?
This came off the top of Mount Sinai. Yeah.
Where
This
God
is, this
God
is,
came
this
down.
is the one that guy was holding, and he came back with his hearing, and he thought maybe it's because he touched it. He
I
said,
don't know
no.
about all that, but you can't, God can do amazing things.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
You can see the blackened side, and then the other side. Broke it off, so like the back side would be just the regular rock. You can see there.
Wow.
Yep.
So this is where Moses would go up to
Right.
and
He went up
talk to
top.
God,
Mm-hmm. And there's
and
a
his
plateau
face
up there, a
his
flat
face
spot.
would shine bright. And you'd have to pull the
Right.
veil over.
There's a plateau up there also that plenty of room for the 70 elders to be right there at the foot of the mountain.
It's probably the closest I'll ever get to a location like that. Get in here, trade me. It's come from the same
Mm-hmm.
area.
Yeah, actually some different trips though.
Okay.
But yeah.
Wow.
It's not easy to get up there. It's 5,000 foot at Moses's altar. It's 5,000 foot, and when I say
It's
Moses'
weird, man,
altar-
because when I hold on to this,
Yeah.
I get a flood of emotion.
yeah,
I'm serious.
I know.
It's just,
See, here's Moses' altar, a drawing of it, and here's the real thing. And that's at the base of the mountain, and then that's at 5,000 feet, and then you have to climb 2,500 feet to get to the top of the mountain. It's 7,500 up on top, and it's fairly difficult.
it just
climb in
it just
place.
blows my mind with a discovery like this and what it stands for, that so many people haven't heard about it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's God says, was it Psalm 25:2? It says, "It's the glory of the Lord to conceal a matter,
Mm.
and the glory of kings to search it out." So
Yeah.
it's kind of like Jesus when they sent Jesus to earth. He could have come as King of Kings, King of the universe, or whatever,
Right.
But he sent him as a man, a humble man, and the word went out, word of mouth, one to another. It's kind of the same way. This is going out. The problem is the world doesn't want to believe the Bible is true,
Correct.
and they believe in evolution. They can't have this and evolution both. So you got a whole half of the media
Yeah.
or more that doesn't want the story to be true. You got people like all the National Geographic, History Channel kind of people. They don't believe in God. They're telling a story, but they don't really believe. They don't want to believe the Bible is true, and so you don't get to hear the truth on a lot of different things.
No, because then they can't force their narrative on you.
And there's a lot of Christians, pastors and churches that, because they weren't the ones that found this stuff, where they can put their name on it and say we're bringing it out to you. A lot of them say it's not real because they can't put their name on it. Ron took it to his church, and they said, "Well, Ron, we have all the archaeologists, we have this universities and everything. We'll bring this stuff out and we'll share it with the world." And Ron said, "Well, no, that's not the way it happened. God showed it to me, and I think it's much more powerful that He showed all these discoveries to one man.
Yeah.
So, no, I can't let you do that." And they said, "Okay, well," they came out and said, "None of this is true. They don't,
Oh, wow.
they don't believe this." They say, "Well, no, this is not the real site." After he wouldn't let them have it.
It just solidifies it more for
Yeah.
me that he discovered it, because Jesus used people that you wouldn't expect
Yeah.
to be his apostles.
That's right.
So why
He's-
wouldn't he
Ron is a
use?
very humble man, as you can tell from his videos.
Yeah,
When you hear him talking,
an anesthesiologist, right?
Mhm.
And
Nurse.
he discovered archaeological finds that even the best of archaeologists couldn't.
Yeah, this is all God led him to all these sites and showed him,
Yeah.
not only that, but he showed him what it was and how it worked. Like he looked at some hieroglyphics in Egypt, and God showed him that that's how the pyramids were made. And he built a pyramid machine based on what God showed him, and he demonstrated it. Yeah, he put it in his backyard and built it in his backyard. Put his car on there, and the boys rolled up the ends and lifted his car up in the air, with wood rafters. And he took that machine over to Egypt, to the giant pyramid, Great Pyramid, in front of Japanese TV, demonstrated how it worked, actually on the pyramid. And you'll see.
Is that footage on the runwyatt.com as well?
How the pyramids are built? Yeah, it's on the YouTube channel. How the pyramids were built, and it's in a book over here. I'm going to give you also. We'll talk about that in a minute. But
Well, thanks for letting me hold this.
My
yeah,
goodness.
sure. Yeah, those are.
It just goes to show me too that as I feel that's a whole different feeling than the piece that you showed, the alloy.
Yeah.
And
right. Right. Yeah. That's an important piece.
like looking at it, you'd be like, okay, these seem very similar. They look hard, rigid, but one is like
really
balanced in
different
weight, and the other is almost the weight is centered outside of the object itself. I don't know.
Here at the Golden Calf, here at the Mount Sinai mountain, we have, of course, the mountain peak, and we have the Golden Calf altar that has 12 different Egyptian bulls drawn on the side of it. And
It makes sense because Moses was raised by Egyptians.
yeah, well, the people believed that was their Egyptian gods, those bulls. They worshipped
Right.
those bulls, and so
Yeah.
they drew them on there right before they made the golden calf. See, there's the mountain. There's Moses' altars up here, and then the stream came down and formed a lake. That's actually about a 30-foot drop there. So the lake was able to be about 30 foot deep.
Also, what you're referencing is that the people that Moses was with, they drew those symbols because that's when he was going up to talk to God, and he seen them down there partying and everything.
Yeah,
and
they
got
came
mad
down.
because they were doing their sacrifices when he told them to wait for him.
See, here's the rocks that's forming the golden calf altar. That's the size of it. And
Okay.
if you look, you can see there's a bull on the side right there. There's one of them there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And so that's the side of the golden calf altar.
Okay.
And there's the different bulls that are drawn around on it. And so
If you go back to that picture you had, you were explaining as far as where the river was flowing,
mm-hmm.
you can even see the different. I think it was up here more.
I was gonna show you. I could show you some more
Yeah,
with
go
the
ahead,
same
go ahead.
thing. Here's there's a spillway down here, down here that you can block off, and it would put water in this whole area.
Okay.
And they also have wells there that they built. They're double walled, and it's right next to that 30-foot deep water. And it's see, like here's another one where the stream is coming down from the mountain. There's Moses' altar right here. And there's a spillway right here as you can control the flow, and it also has another deep pond over here on this side. Okay, here's the wells. This is what they look like from the top. Mm-hmm. They had a big stone with little stones in the middle, and the water would filter through, and that would be their drinking water. And Ron got a gold reading over there next to the wall of that, and he. Let's see if I have a picture of it here. While he was there, they started excavating where he got the gold reading out of this hole. There's the well where they went down, and they found a gold bracelet from Egypt in the bottom of the well, where it had fallen off of somebody's hand into the water. See, and this is the top, from a top view, that's half of a well. Yeah. And there's about 6 wells along there, but 3 of them are pretty much where you can see them. All right, now see, here's the well, right here, see, that's a 30-foot drop. So the water came up that high when they closed it off down there. So it gave them plenty of water. They were there for at least a year in that site. And here's Moses' altar. Now, it originally didn't have this additional ridge down the middle. They put that there. The archaeologists put that there because that's what they didn't want it to be an altar. See, here's the original. It has a stone. This part it was a earthen altar down there, and that's where they sacrificed the animals. And then right next to the altar site are a bunch of pieces of marble. And Ron was told that it was a memorial put there by Solomon to commemorate the Mount Sinai.
Where'd the marble come from? Is there any other marble around?
Yeah, there's actually some marble up on top. We don't know if it came from there for sure, but there is a marble vein up there where they were mining the marble from up on top. So it could have come from there. This is interesting. I found this drawn on the side of the golden calf altar, and it looks like a bull with the horns, a bull that's sitting down with a table, 1, 2, 3, 4, sitting on a table. And I'm wondering if maybe somebody drew what the golden calf altar looked like on the side of the rock there at the golden calf altar.
It's possible.
It could have been done at a later time or something, but I don't know. There it is. I think it might be the actual drawing of what it looked like. When it was, made of gold. Okay, up on the side of the mountain, on the side of Mount Sinai, is a cave that we believe is Elijah's cave. It's 20 foot deep, about 10 or 15 feet wide, and 10, 15 feet tall. That's on the side of the mountain. And we believe that to be Elijah's cave.
What's the background on that? I can't exactly remember. Is that where he could only go up a certain distance?
When he went to the prophet of Baal, and they killed all those prophets.
Right.
He made a run for it because she was after him. What's her name? The queen. Jezebel was after him, where they killed all those prophets.
Right.
And so he came back down to Mount Sinai, up from Israel, and went to the cave. And he said he went into the cave, and that's where God. He said the whirlwind came by, and God wasn't in that. The earthquake shook all the rocks, and every rock around there is cracked. It's had a lot of earthquakes in that area. And finally he heard God's voice in a still small voice. And he says, "Why are you still here?" He says, "I have 9,000 still that haven't bowed the knee to Baal." And he told Elijah to go anoint the king and get down and go do some things that he wanted him to do.
That's right.
So this is the cave where he was at when God was earthquaking and whirlwind and all that.
Yeah, because he didn't think there was anyone left. That was.
He thought he was the only one, and they were out to kill him. And so God was telling him it's not that way at all. So I think that there's something else here. This is kind of important. This is up on Mount Sinai looking back. This could be actually from the cave, up on the side of the mountain, looking back down.
Oh, okay.
You have.
When's the last time that anyone in the family or, I guess, the group has gone back to get any updated pictures and stuff?
These are pretty recent. Let's see. Before COVID, we were there right before COVID.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 2019, I think, was my last trip.
Yeah. That's my question.
This is Moses' altar that we were talking about. And you can see the water comes down this way. This is actually the way I climbed up to Mount Sinai. One of the times that I went to the top, I actually followed the stream up.
That's said to be Elijah's lookout.
And right here is Elijah's lookout coming up the side of the hill. Is where his cave is, and it's not easy to get up to. It's actually a pretty good climb to get up to it.
So it means he's in pretty good shape.
Yeah, yeah. And then there were some altars. Well, that's what Ron thought was the altars. There was 12 altars put up for the tribes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the water came down this way and formed this lake. And then the wells were here. And then this is the golden calf altar, a half a mile away.
So, and I noticed there in that picture, that's cool.
Here's the hill I was talking about. This is Elijah's cave on the side of that mountain that we were just looking from.
Yeah.
There's the cave.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, there's a huge big rock up here. There is a cleft between the rock. Of course, we don't know if this is the one that was the cleft between the rock, but there is one there. And there's a tree growing in between it. A cypress tree growing out of the rock up there.
What's
And,
the significance of that?
I don't know. But it's there. And
But for that to be
we
the
had a
only
guy
one-
bring down a piece of that tree is right here.
He said, I'm taking some of that with me.
He broke off some of the dead part
Yeah.
and brought it down. So it's a cypress tree, I believe, or a evergreen type, type tree. That's what's growing up there in that rock. Another significant piece that came off Mount Sinai.
What's the? I mean, was there a particular type of wood that was known that was made for the ark, or no?
Well, cypress is what we
Okay,
believe it
that's
is.
why I asked
We
that
believe
question.
it's cypress.
Okay.
But we're not sure on that because you don't get a reading of what type of wood it is.
Yeah.
What was interesting
Well,
about
and that's
the
of
wood?
course after everything is also materialized on it as well. So you're not getting a raw organic.
Right.
Original
We
material
don't know what
anyways.
kind of wood it
Yeah.
is because and not only that.
I just didn't know if like the history of that time of previous ships, what were they generally constructed of, would tell me that okay, we've already proven that this works, it's seaworthy.
Yeah.
We're gonna now put, put it
Right.
to play with this much larger
So
vessel.
here's the problem you get on this. Before the flood,
Yeah.
there was no rain. There was a terrarium around the earth, and the water just came up from the earth.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is the wood,
Wait, say that again.
there was no rain before the flood.
Okay.
There was a terrarium around
Yeah.
the earth, and the atmosphere was 3 times more oxygen than what we have now. That's why you had dinosaurs with
But it was more lush green.
small little lungs, because they were easily being able to breathe the
Yeah.
oxygen. But so when it did start raining, well, before the flood there was no rain, so that meant there was no rings in the wood.
Mhm.
So there's no rings in this wood. It's just a dense piece of wood.
Wow.
You won't find any rings. The rings were usually where the weak spots in wood
Yeah.
would be, but there are no weak spots in this wood.
And that's because of the oxygen
I
content?
mean, the constant
No, there was no rain.
there was no rain. You have to have rain to get the rings. Seasons cause the
Because
the
that's,
rings.
when you look at a tree and you base it upon its age, as each
Yeah.
season it goes, each one of those rings. And so if you
They
see
usually
one
they
that has
count a
about
ring
50,
for a year. When
Okay.
you cut a tree down,
yeah,
they count the rings, and that's how old it is. And
So
He's
when it
saying
says
it's
that the
solid,
earth
it's-
was by mist, this mist may have been something other than what is produced from
no,
the rain?
it was just a water mist.
Okay.
Misting from the earth. It was coming up from the earth, and everything just grew like a terrarium would be. It's an enclosed atmosphere.
Okay.
And I've heard the possibility that the earth had a film of hydrogen around it that was 4 mils thick. That when God wanted it to rain, He broke that, and that started falling as rain. That was helping with some of the rain. Of course, the waters, they said the great deeps were broken up. The water was coming out of the middle of the earth, also under pressure. So the earth was just filling up and breaking apart. Something else that was found significant on the top of Mount Sinai is this rock right here. This is a piece of granite. It was that long. It got broken out because it was too heavy to carry down. But anyway, this is the correct thickness. The material we believe is correct because Ron bought these tables of stone because he said that's what they look like.
Yeah.
And that's the same kind of looking granite. and the thickness. He said this is the closest to what the tables of stone really look like. And the stone's written, by the way, 4 on one side, 6 on the other, on both sides, 4 and 6. So either way you're looking at it, you're going to see 10 commandments.
So what's the assumption here, that this could be possibly the first set?
No,
of,
that is, it's just showing that there is that material up there,
right?
And maybe the 10 commandments were made out of something like that. That's just an example of the material. There it is, very, very true to what he said, the size. I mean, the color and the width and everything. Yeah. I think the tables that he took up there were probably made down at the bottom, and he carried them up when he wrote on them the second time. So if I find some of this down on the bottom, then I'll get excited, because that might be the place they made it. You know.
Right.
Okay. Now we know that.
Sorry.
We know that Mount Sinai is where they stayed for a year, and that's where they were told to make. They were told to make the first tabernacle there at Mount Sinai. So a guy came to us a couple of months ago, and he showed us these pictures and started telling us this story. We were like, what? And so here's what we found. And we made a video. It's on our YouTube channel, the video. It's over here, actually. This site is where they made the first tabernacle. It's right at the foot of Mount Sinai, a mile away from the peak, half a mile away from the golden calf altars. This is a 3-foot stone, and it's got a wing carved in it. That's a wing. And they was taking a sheet of gold, put it down on there, and hammered it to get this size, and it's the exact size of a 3-foot wing on the Ark of the Covenant. So that's where the Ark of the Covenant wings were made. That's the way, and it verifies what Ron said they look like, because the size fits on the Ark of the Covenant perfectly. And it's a metallurgy site because it has 5 of these furnaces it's hollow in the middle, where you would get your heat going really hot. That's where you'd melt everything down. And then it has these pour zones where you can pour into. And there's even one here, a little smaller holes. And there's a surface of something that's maybe there. But anyway, if you wanted something that's shaped like this, or like if you wanted a socket to make, they had a lot of sockets, you could just pour into that and put something in the middle of it and pull it out, and you'd have a socket. So this is where they made the first tabernacle. And that's probably the most exciting discovery that's been made in a long time.
So, and who found that?
There was a guy named Jim that came over here that brought us information. He went in December of last year.
Okay.
December 12th. And
so that's like an outline for the
pressing outline
of the
wing, and you see that it's feather shaped there. And it's actually bent down so that when you bent the gold over it, then it would give you a little bit of a shape of the wing that you hammer onto the Ark of the Covenant. You know, it gives you that shape that you attach to the shoulders.
Right.
It goes out here and here. So that's we're going to be going over there and checking that side out a lot better, because we feel like there's a lot more there to be seen. That's funny, because I shot a picture of a small metallurgy that's closer to the road. I didn't know what it was, and so I didn't even think about making the Ark of the Covenant, or making anything there like that.
Right.
I thought it was, I didn't know what it was. Well, shortly after that, I saw a program on TV and a guy in Israel was telling me this is true out of the desert, that when they're trying to catch a jaguar or cats, big cats, they would make a site like that and fix a trap door where this big rock would fall on them, and they would trap them in the rocks. But of course, they wouldn't be that tall. It would be like this. It'd be more like the one I saw that's a lot lower. and it has a hole in it, and I just couldn't figure out what it was. And I thought, well, when I saw that show, I said, oh, well, maybe that was a
Awesome.
jaguar trap or something, you know. But now I know, because that one was right close to all of these.
Right.
It was one of 5. So it was just where they made stuff, you know, where they were, because they didn't have to really smelt too much. It was more like melting down. You didn't have to get it real hot to melt down gold. You know, it's already in its pure form. You don't have to do a lot of smelting. So they had silver, gold, and bronze that they worked with to make the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see. Ark of the Covenant. This pottery here represents copies that Ron found when he was digging in the tunnels of there in the Garden Tomb to get to the Ark of the Covenant cave. He would take these to the IAA, and they would make him a copy of the original.
Okay.
And so they gave him the
It
copies.
was a good idea.
So that shows you kind of what they used on the Ark of the Covenant cave. That was some of the temple furnishings that they used.
And the Garden Cave, that was located how far from?
400 feet from the old city wall of Jerusalem. Zedekiah's cave is where Ron entered at a later date. There's a big stone wall there, granite wall, that God opens and closes the door into this cave whenever tunnel. Anytime he wants Ron to go into the tunnel 400 feet across the street to the Garden Tomb, if he wanted him to come into that tunnel, the door would be open. Have y'all heard that story?
No, what do you mean the door?
Okay. I mean, just like that wall was there, if God wanted you to go into that wall, he would make a door appear. And you could just walk right into the tunnel.
And that,
And then if you weren't supposed to be there, it'd just be a hard rock wall again.
yeah, is that before he dug through that small tunnel the first
Now,
time?
the small tunnel he dug for 3.5 years.
Okay.
And then once he got in that way and saw everything, just have a seat and we'll talk about this real quick.